Jason Schreier has just come out that is very good and very bad, depending on how you look
Now,
at it.
how is this any good? Because if this was Microsoft, you'd be out here saying that Xbox is dead. But since it's PlayStation, they get a second chance, right? Yeah, like a typical PlayStation fanboy.
They have apparently just canceled 2 big live service games, but
But I thought Sony was focusing on single players. Ain't that what y'all told me? Oh, didn't Gamester tell you? How many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man? That the future of gaming is live service and subscription. You guys keep saying that Microsoft's bleeding money, but to me it seems like it's Sony. That's why all your games are getting canceled and flopping. What are you talking about, bro?
Turns out the studios that are working on them, they're ones that we thought were doing stuff that's much better. But
it is what it is, man. They seen the lackluster sales of Astrobot, and you know what they said? Hey, we're going to have to shift this into online. We need that concurrent money like Microsoft.
Let's talk, because these canceled projects, to be honest, sound awful. I mean, just abysmal.
Well, it just goes to show you that Sony don't know what they're doing, man. Gamester with another W. Oh, watch Porter Rock and all these PlayStation fanboys find a way to spin this. Oh, it's a good thing. It's good. Now Sony can focus on what's important. Y'all said that for the last 2 games they canceled. And now we're going to add another 2. And now we're going to see Sony put Marathon, or what is it, Fairpoint on the Xbox, which is one of their own in-house studios. What do you people don't understand, man? The gaming landscape is changing right in front of you, but yet you people continue to still stay oblivious to it. Let's go.
Fact. Let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day. And so people are kind of wondering, were we going to get a Bloodborne remake? Were we going to get, I don't know, some crazy...
Well, there's a reason as to why you guys are not getting Bloodborne, and it has more to do with the fact that From Software is not really benefiting from it. Now, I do think that they want that game to be multi-plat, but since Sony owns the IP... From Software, especially with the way they are now as a company, they don't care that much to really help Sony in this situation. So that's probably why you guys haven't got the Bloodborne remaster or remake as of recently. But hey, like I said, it is still coming, and you know, it's just whenever they decide to want to help PlayStation.
The expansive project or something completely new, a new IP. It turns out that what Bluepoint has been working on is a live service God of War game.
Ha ha.
And what Sony Bend is working on was Sony Bend. There was already a bunch of leaked gameplay. I talked about that a couple months back. They were basically making a looter shooter.
Now, the problem is, I don't have a problem with an online God of War game. I actually personally enjoyed God of War Ascension's multiplayer. I thought it was severely underrated. Now, if we're looking at it from the grand schemes of the new ones, yeah, I just can't really see it. So I do understand that, but that just goes to show you that Sony sees where the money's at. Sony is bleeding money right now. I don't care. Keep using your 60, 70 million PlayStation 5 hardware sales, but at the end of the day, we can clearly see that there's a deeper problem going on within Sony.
Now, the fact that these live service games are dead.
What do you mean? The only ones that are dead are the games that Sony's making. Fortnite, Apex, you guys know the list of games. They're all doing quite fine. It seems like the only games that are having problems are the ones being made and developed by Sony.
Admit I'm happy about it because...
Oh, you're happy about it. But if this was Xbox, Microsoft's dead. Microsoft can't come back from this. You see, that's so funny, man. And this is what I'm trying to tell you, bro. It's the hypocrisy of this situation. Because we understand if this was Xbox, you would be out here saying that they're dead. But since it's Sony, oh, it's actually a good thing. When have you ever heard a pony say it's a good thing that something got canceled? Right? Remember they say, oh, Scalebound, you know, the greatest Xbox One game that was going to be alive, and that game got canceled, and I would have picked up an Xbox if that game did it. Bro, nobody wants to hear this garbage, bro. Let's listen to that again.
Making a looter shooter. Now, the fact that these live service games are dead, I have to admit I'm happy about it because I do feel like this to me is just not very Sony. Like, I feel like a big reason that PlayStation has gotten so far ahead is because of their stories.
No, it's because of third party.
It's not that multiplayer sucks. It's not that live service...
Well, I mean, apparently they must suck if you don't want these games coming out.
This is the worst thing ever, but when
You guys are just not confident in Sony doing multiplayer, so go ahead, buy the Xbox game, because at the end of the day, Xbox community. Stop getting mad that they're playing your games. The PlayStation 5 is single-handedly turning into an Xbox. You don't see what Bobbity Phil Spencer is doing? The PS5 already has the M on its head and it says Microsoft. It's done. Bobbity Phil Spencer has taken over the PS5. Majin Vegeta. What are y'all doing, man?
PlayStation, I think of their incredibly good stories, like God of War, like Spider-Man, like The Last of Us.
So how come you can't make good single player like Gears of War and multiplayer like Halo, like Gears, like State of Decay? Why can't y'all do that? I'm failing to understand as to why Sony can't do both. They did during the PS3 generation. Uncharted had good single player and multiplayer, right? Last of Us had good single player and multiplayer, right? Why can't they do both? Like, why do they feel like they gotta have only one, man? That just goes to show you that you're getting less value picking up the PlayStation 5 platform. Game still with another W.
Stuff that not just sells systems, but
bro, ain't nobody buying your exclusives. The only thing selling your system is the top 10 charts, which happen to be Fortnite, Madden, NBA 2K, and Call of Duty. That's what's pushing the PS5 hardware. We've been telling y'all this from the beginning, but it seems like y'all ain't listening.
Uniquely PlayStation.
Uniquely.
So I'm going to take a look at a bunch of reactions of it, and I want to actually start with a quote from Shuhei Yoshida, because initial gut reaction, people are like, God, I'm glad this is canceled. Yesterday, Shuhei Yoshida is now left PlayStation.
He's like, y'all ain't gonna blame me for this, man. Look at that. They got you all treated like Jim Ryan. Now you see why Jim Ryan left. He's like, y'all ain't putting the blame on me with this one. I'm getting up out of here, man. I have 30 years of blessing PlayStation platforms, and they were all good, and now y'all trying to tarnish my great name. Now he's leaving. Right there speaks volumes as to what's going on in this company. PlayStation is dead.
To PlayStation for 31 years, and he went on to the Kind of Funny Gamecast and talked rather candidly about a bunch of different stuff, including why he feels like we don't have a Bloodborne remaster. But one of the things he specifically says is that if he was still in charge of PlayStation, he would have resisted the push to live service. There's been a lot of talks about the fact
that means Sony would have gone under, because to be honest with you, Sony makes most of their money by people subscribing to their subscription service to play third party, which also would mean that PlayStation 5 would not be existing right now, because that's where they get most of their money.
That this whole obsession with live service, every company currently has it. Everybody with a massive...
No, that's not true. Microsoft is a little bit balanced. Nintendo, I mean, even Nintendo has more online live service. I mean, if you think about it, even though it's single player, but Smash Bros. Ultimate, these are live. Even Mario Kart is designed as a live service and subscription where you pay. If you pay for a membership to play a game, then that is some form of a live service and subscription. Do you get what I'm saying? So Nintendo just has single player components. I mean, Splatoon is not even necessarily known for its single player components, even though they've added in future titles for those gamers that do complain about it. But that was essentially an online only game, and people still buy that and pick it up for Nintendo. It seems like the only problem that's going on here is with Sony PlayStation.
Stock portfolio, whether it is Ubisoft or Square Enix or everybody, they all have this idea that if they can copy Fortnite or copy Call of Duty,
what do you mean? Square hasn't really copied anybody. I mean, they made their own games, and yet they still failed. And guess what? They were all single players. Astro Bot selling 1.5 million was a single player game. It wasn't a live service game, and people still barely bought it. You PlayStation fanboys are just coping right now, man. I'm tired of it.
Glitch and have billions of free dollars, when that's clearly not the case. 99% of live service games fail. 99% are shut down.
Well, let's go through the single player games of PlayStation. Well, Destruction All Stars was live service, so you get a pass. To be honest, actually, your two most successful games, which happens to be Helldivers 2, that was a live service subscription game. I mean, if anything, you ponies was running with it. Oh yeah, Pony, we finally got one over Xbox, right? Now that Sony has been failing in live service and subscription and single player games, and you people don't want to bring this up, but you want to sit there and masquerade and hide behind your little hardware sales as if people can't really see the problems going on with this company.
First 16 months, so it's a crapshoot, and it's pretty obvious that Shuhei Yoshida, not only being at PlayStation before it was even called PlayStation, I think he's smart enough to know this stuff, it's not lucrative, it's not worth betting the entire console on. But I think this is interesting because a lot of people are like, man, it's wild to me and that PlayStation thinks all these live service games are the way to go. It's time and budget, and all of these could have been spread out to fill large gaps that they should have had first-party exclusives.
Yeah, and look what happened with Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Look what happened to those games. Square came out and told you that those games flopped. So at the end of the day, Rise of Ronin, Stellar Blade even. So you guys are acting like Sony did not try these single-player games. They've tried them and they didn't sell past the 5 millions. Like, the only reason why God of War and Forbidden West did so well is because it was on PS4 and PS5, which all had huge install bases. And on top of that, let's not act like the game wasn't bundled either.
Jim Ryan knew that, and he bounced. Now, there has been a lot of talk about these...
Oh, here they go. They're going to blame Jim Ryan. You're going to blame a guy that's no longer even at the company. That's like me saying, oh, Xbox is bad because of what Dawn Matrix did during the 360. You know, the effects have been going so long that even when Phil's still there, it's messing with the Xbox brand.
Live service games.
Nobody want to hear this.
Obviously, a couple of years back, we had Jim Ryan up and leave. He was president of PlayStation.
Yeah, and you don't think there's a reason as to why these people are getting up and leaving? Because they probably have a problem with Sony running this company into the grave. And they're saying, you're not going to use me and use my great name when I've been giving PlayStation gamers great games, and you're not going to use me as no scapegoat.
All of PlayStation 4, and a lot of people thought that Jim Ryan is a big reason the PlayStation has gotten so safe, that while the PlayStation 4...
Because the last time, hold on, because I remember Jim Ryan said he wasn't for the remasters. He said, I remember clearly, people want this old stuff? What are you talking about? Jim Ryan was actually completely against that. I think Sony told him, hey, Jim Ryan, that's a lot of money that you're trying to spend on these games. Let's stick to the remasters and remakes and see if we can get away like Nintendo. And it didn't work.
Incredibly successful. Jim Ryan decided, okay, let's do tons of remasters. Let's do remakes. Let's play it safe. Let's do tons of DLC.
And these are still going on even without Jim Ryan at the company. So clearly you know that's not solely him. That's a Sony decision.
Let's do stuff that we know will print money and then channel that into live service.
Sony just realized that you're not Nintendo. I'm sorry. You guys have finally came to that realization that you're not Nintendo. Now sit in that little canoe of a boat of yours and enjoy PlayStation dying from the outside.
With your and that'll be our experimental projects. We'll do a live service Twisted Metal and Horizon Zero. That kind of stuff will make us money. And now the new management has taken over, and it seems like they're caning that. They're saying, no. People are not going to...
Well, if that's the case, then why is that still in development? If Sony cared that much about canceling live service and subscription games, they would go as far as to cancel Marathon. I think a God of War live service game would be far better than what we're getting with Marathon, right? But no, y'all ain't saying that. Y'all capping, man. You got a PlayStation shirt and you out here capping again.
Suddenly want to have a live service version of the single-player stories they want. Like, live service God of War. Are you kidding me?
Last time I checked, God of War Essential was a great single player and a great game with multiplayer. Last time I checked, Uncharted had great multiplayer and single player. It just seems like Sony don't know what to do now.
The leaked gameplay from Sony Bend, that's the people that...
As a matter of fact, the game Marvel Spider-Man Great Web, which was a game that they canceled, a lot of people thought that looked interesting. So don't come here capping saying nobody wanted it. It's the fact that Sony's not confident in putting all this money into these projects. So that right there shows you that Sony's dead. How are you going to continue to make PlayStation 6, 7, and 8 if you can't even afford to bring out games now? Microsoft don't have that problem.
Made, they're the people that made
Days
Gone, Siphon Filter. Their shooter that they were making, it looked incredibly basic to be complimentary. But a lot of people are like, okay.
And so is that Marathon game, but yet y'all still have confidence in that?
What's the goal of this? Sony says the studios won't close, and they're working with them to determine their next project.
All that money wasting.
At least there's that. In this era, it feels like if you have one big flop, they cut you, right? You see the studio closures, what happened with Arcane Austin, and whatever happened with, oh God, I forgot. What's the name of the Xbox Vampire?
Oh, I always got to find a way to throw Xbox. Yeah, how about Concord?
Game. Bad Blood? I'm legitimately...
You ponies, man. Y'all losing it,
My point is the fact that
y'all losing
when you screw up on $1 billion level at this point, they just cut you down. Even if you do a AA online game, like Redfall, if it's not...
Of course, he has to find... I mean, at least I can say one thing. Redfall still has its servers up.
Because hit ever, they can it. I want to take a look at a couple more tweets.
Microsoft didn't necessarily can Redfall. I mean, it's a part of the piece of machinery, but you could still play that game online if you want to.
People just being like,
the game wasn't canceled. The game came out, and if anything, they have updated the game for it to play better. Not saying it's a good game, but I'm just saying the game is still alive.
And it is wild to get these two studios that are so effective. Blue Point new IPs. I feel like I'm starting to become that old man shouts at cloud.
Here we go. You've been doing that for a while now, and guess what? You're screaming at the clouds, and ain't nobody listening to you now.
You used to constantly get new ideas.
From who?
Get different spin-offs, you get new series.
From Sony? No, this is the Sony experience that you've always have gotten. PlayStation 1 and 2 have always benefited off third party. This is where the entitlement comes from, where it's my game and nobody else can play it, because this is something that they're used to during the generations of the GameCube and original Xbox, of playing games that nobody else could play. Final Fantasy VII. And now that everybody else can play these games, that's where the entitlement kicks in. You don't even see Nintendo gamers doing it. It's always ponies, because ponies got attached to third party more so than their own exclusives. And you could see that by the way they support their games. They would rather support Xbox games more than their very own titles.
Your concepts, yes, some of them flopped. Yes, some of them sucked. Nobody knows what Pandemonium is anymore, the PlayStation 1 platformer.
Hold on, that was not a PlayStation 1 platformer. That's also on the Sega Saturn. I have it.
Nobody knows what Panzer Dragoon is.
Oh, really? I bet you don't even know what Panzer Dragoon is, even though you got a Dreamcast hat on your head.
I feel like when I think about the success of PlayStation, the classics of PlayStation, the eras of PlayStation.
Well, if you want to think about the classics of PlayStation, you could think no further than Capcom, Square Enix, even EA. You could think nothing but third party, baby. True Crime, Activision. These were games all provided by third party. I'm sorry. If you make a top 50 list of all the PlayStation 1, 2 games that you enjoyed, I guarantee majority of the games are going to be made by Capcom, Squaresoft, or some other company. I mean, you might catch a one, like that game they made, One, and all those other titles, but Iron Hand, all these games were made by Square, bro. Bushido Blade, Square. Those are the games that I remember on PlayStation. Tekken, the Tekken, Namco. Sony don't own none of these games.
It's been about innovation and not chasing trends. Good.
Sony never chased. You hear that? Sony never chased trends. Really? Is that why they had a game called Tobo that was essentially trying to be a Virtua Fighter clone? Oh, Sony never chased trends. Is that why the PS1 controller looked like the Super Nintendo with analogs on it? Oh, Sony. Bro, really? Sony never chased trends? Really?
Stories, great games, incredibly emotional stuff. I have so many great memories of even their non-story based stuff, like Gran Turismo, playing Gran Turismo with my bros as a kid. And now they're trying to turn Gran Turismo into a live service game. Everything is supposed to be live service. PlayStation has canceled these two games, but they're not trying to do it. Looks like the failure of Concord and that $400 million loss.
And that means they've also lost a lot of money with those games, too.
Had a huge impact. I made a video about this a couple weeks ago.
But we got 70 million hardware sales, though. Go ahead, use that excuse.
Just that I think
PlayStation's done.
Sony has realized that chasing trends is not going to work.
Oh, really? Oh, you're going to sit there and say that? They should have realized that after the last two games they canceled, which was Spider-Man Great Web and Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer. Cut the cat, bruh. Cut it out. Why do you do this, bro? All you doing is capping, because if this was Airbox be dead right about now, right?
I feel like this ripple effect is going to hit the entire industry.
No, it's only going to hit Sony, because Microsoft is good. They're making great games. They got third-party Activision, Bethesda, and Blizzard. They all good. Nintendo's good because people buy Nintendo consoles for Nintendo games. The only one that's struggling right here is Sony. You guys been using hardware sales as this crutch to act like nothing's going on, but we all, the real gamers, see right through it. Y'all make sure y'all share this video around. I want everybody to see this.
I think everybody realizes this isn't going to work. Ubisoft shut down X-Defiant. I feel like at this point, everybody realizes that you can't just make...
Everybody realizes it. What are you talking about?
...service game, because if anything, they've cannibalized each other. Marvel Rivals is a fantastic game. It's a fantastic hero shooter, and it has completely eaten Overwatch 2. Overwatch is never coming back ever. That game is complete.
Well, Overwatch has had its success for over, 10 years, right? Well, I don't know how long to get, but I'm assuming about 7, 8 years. So they got a new game that came out. I don't think Overwatch has been overshadowed. They still a lot of people that play it. Maybe not as much as when the game first came out, but people still support it. I mean, what are we doing here, man?
Completely dead. Even if Marvel Rivals at this point somehow flops in like 6 months, a year, or whatever like that, at this point, Overwatch is not coming back.
Overwatch is still very popular.
This is the problem with live service. Billions of dollars to invest in a game that's supposed to keep you engaged, committed, and playing. Buying season passes, buying microtransactions, buying cosmetics. The second you tune out, the second you play another game, the second you stop logging in,
the second you pick up a PS5 and buy an Xbox game,
the second you have one controversy, that $1 billion gets flushed down the toilet. It's no longer worth the gamble. You're better off making a single-player game that is feature complete, that's fun.
Because Astrobot was all those things above, and the game only sold 1.5 million. Astrobot would have been a failure if Sony put 300 million into that game. You know that, right? The only reason why Astrobot even sold well, even though the software sales was low, because the budget. So you're essentially saying that Sony got to go back to Nintendo budgets.
That's cool, and you sell it. I think Sony needs
just like they had a hard time selling Rebirth, just like they had a hard time selling Rise of Ronin and Stellar Blade, and those games all flopped.
Go back to basics, but everybody's saying at this point. I'm not some beautiful snowflake to say that. I gotta say, I'm glad that these games got canceled. And
but if it was Xbox, they'd be dead, right?
Honestly,
y'all need to start holding this dude accountable, bro. Because what he's doing, he's a fraud, bro. Like literally, because if this was Xbox, they'd be dead for the 20,000th time. But now look at he's applauding. Look at that. That's good, PlayStation. Keep canceling more games and wasting more money.
Congrats to PlayStation.
Congrats. Y'all gotta call him out for that, bro. Everybody need to start making videos right now after this video is released to the public. You are essentially applauding games for getting canceled. Imagine if an Xbox did that. Oh, that's good, Redfall. It failed. There you can focus on what we really need. Y'all be sitting there saying Xbox dudes be capping. It's about keeping things consistently here, people. I don't care if y'all mock Xbox for that, but it's about the consistency. That's why I'm calling y'all out on.
Wake it up. What do you guys think?
Man out here clapping his hands, bro.
I gotta say, I'm glad that these games got canceled. And honestly, congrats to PlayStation.
Congrats. You're giving credit to PlayStation for said like a true pony. Let's keep hearing this.
I'm not some beautiful snowflake to say that. I gotta say, I'm glad that these games got canceled. And honestly, congrats to PlayStation for waking up.
You're congratulating PlayStation for nothing. What are you doing, bro? You are a pony, man.
Beautiful snowflake to say that. I gotta say, I'm glad that these games got canceled. And honestly, congrats to PlayStation for waking up. What do you guys?
What do you mean waking up? If they woke up, it would have already did it with the last two. You want to sit there. You're capping, bro. I'm tired of you right now, bro. You want to sit there and talk about how Sony waking up? If Sony woke up, then why does Marathon exist, bruh? Oh, we going that far, man. We coming here with this energy. Because if you want to sit there and talk all this garbage, talk about, oh, Sony, you finally woke up. Oh, they didn't wake up with the last two flopping failures, right? Last of Us live service and this one, then they had a God of War, then they had another looter. That's 4 games. Y'all ain't waking up and you still got Marathon. Matter of fact, 5, Concord, flopped. What wake up are you talking about, bruh? How many times I gotta teach you this lesson on, man?
Tell me your thoughts in the comments.
Oh, you know the
thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like.
Bro, I gotta hear this one more time, bro.
I think Sony needs to go back to basics, but everybody's saying at this point. I'm not some beautiful snowflake to say that. I gotta say, I'm glad that these games got canceled. And
I'm glad that these games got canceled.
Honestly, congrats to PlayStation for waking up.
Congratulations, PlayStation, for canceling more games and wasting more money for nothing. Congratulations, everyone. I'm happy. I'm a happy PS5 owner. At least we have Xbox games to look forward to. Thank you, Microsoft. Thank you, PlayStation, for canceling more games. you're gonna wake up eventually. If it wasn't for 5 failures, and not including the games that finally did release and drop, it's getting to the point where Sony is using third party to have their games flop just so they can push their own hardware. Sony ain't confident, man. Square's like, you, Sony, you set me up. You set me up, Sony. We should have made these multi-plats from the beginning. You set me up. What do you mean? You set me up. You said people would buy my game like they did back in the PlayStation 1. You set me up. Now we as a company, Square, have lost money. Now we're going to put it on Xbox. I am tired of you, Sony. You have lied to us. You needed games for your garbage platform because if it wasn't for us, Microsoft would have whooped your behind. We was loyal to you, and you betray us like Black Myth Wukong with the Game of the Year award.
What do you guys think? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give...
I'm happy they canceled.
I think Sony needs to go back to basics, but everybody's saying at this point. I'm not some beautiful snowflake to say that. I gotta say, I'm glad that these games got canceled. And honestly, congrats to PlayStation for waking up.
Waking up. You know what I mean? Since he woke up, I'm going to go back to sleep. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, man, because at the end of the day, if Sony woke up, then we wouldn't be hearing about no marathon, baby.